Okay, let's talk about a feeling that is just way too common these days, feeling totally invisible at work. But what if the fix for this super modern problem isn't some new app or trendy management hack, but an idea that's been around for almost 100 years?
Seriously, does this sound like you? You're in a meeting, you've got a fantastic idea, but when you share it, it's like you're speaking on mute. Or maybe you manage a team, you have the title, but you feel like you have zero real influence. Well, you're definitely not alone. And that feeling, that's exactly where our story kicks off. So let me introduce you to Alex. On paper, this guy should be flying high. He's got the manager title, he's got the responsibilities, he's got the team. But on the inside, he's in the middle of a serious crisis of confidence. It's so bad, he's literally one click away from printing out his resignation letter.
What was going on? Well, every idea he brought to a meeting just landed with a thud. Crickets. His team, they seemed totally disconnected from him and from their own work. He had the title manager, sure, but none of the actual influence that's supposed to come with it. In his mind, he was a total failure.
So one night, he's just staring at his desk, ready to throw in the towel. And his eyes land on this dusty, worn-out book his grandfather gave him years ago. He'd always kind of written it off as old-fashioned nonsense, but in this moment of pure desperation, he actually picked it up. And the title was How to Win Friends and Influence People.
And as he starts reading, he comes across this one simple distinction that honestly changes everything. See, his whole career, he'd been trying so hard to be interesting, to have the smartest ideas, to be the one who gets noticed. But the book suggested this radical and way faster alternative.
And right here, this was it. This was the lightning bolt moment. This one sentence, underlined in the old book, just hit him like a ton of bricks. He realized he'd been playing this long, exhausting, and totally ineffective game. The secret wasn't about broadcasting himself louder. It was about tuning in to everyone else.
Now, Alex didn't just have this aha moment and then go to bed. No, he made a decision right then and there. The very next morning, he was going to stop trying to be the most interesting person in the room and start a new mission, to be the most interested.
So he basically boiled all that wisdom down into two super simple, actionable steps for himself. First, he was going to give people genuine, specific appreciation. No generic, good job stuff. And second, in meetings, he was going to let other people feel like the good ideas were theirs.
And what do you know? The very next morning, he gets his first chance to try this out. He sees Sarah from the design team, and she looks totally stressed, struggling with his huge portfolio. Now, the old Alex, he would have just given a quick nod and kept walking. But this was the new Alex. And what he did was so surprisingly simple. He didn't just say, "Hey, nice work." He mentioned a specific project of hers he'd seen and complimented her creativity on it. Then, and this is key, he asked about her process. And for 5 whole minutes, he just shut up and listened, genuinely curious. In that tiny moment, Sarah finally felt seen.
Okay, so later that day, he walks into a much bigger challenge. It's a project meeting that is completely stuck in the mud, going absolutely nowhere. Now, the old Alex would have jumped in, steamrolled everyone with his own solution, and tried to force a decision. But he remembered his second principle.
This piece of advice just popped into his head. The goal isn't to prove that he has the answer. The goal is to find the answer, no matter who it comes from. It was time to just let his ego go.
Instead of dictating a solution, he completely flipped the script. He turned to Mark, the quiet logistics guy who almost never spoke up. Alex specifically asked Mark, "What do you see as the biggest roadblock here?" And just like that, the whole dynamic in the room shifted. Mark, feeling valued, lays out this brilliant solution that the whole team immediately got behind. It was Mark's idea, and because of that, it was now the team's victory. And look, this wasn't some one-day experiment. For a whole month, Alex really committed to this, appreciating, listening, and empowering his team. And the results? They were absolutely transformative. The change was so obvious. His boss actually called him into his office. And instead of the bad news Alex used to expect, he got this. This was real, tangible proof that his internal shift was creating massive results on the outside. His team wasn't just working anymore. They were thriving.
Alex walked out of that office. He realized that crumpled up resignation letter still in his bag was basically a fossil from a different life. He had finally stopped managing people and had started leading them. And that influence he was so desperate for, it finally showed up. Not because he demanded it,
but because he'd earned it.
The transformation is just crystal clear. He went from being a ghost in the hallways, ignored and ready to walk away, to a respected, influential leader. And it all started by just turning his focus from me to you. Okay, so Alex's story is pretty amazing, right? But the real question is, how do we make this work for us in our own lives? So let's turn this whole thing into a challenge for you, starting right now.
The most important thing to get is that this is not about tricks. It's not about manipulating people. It's about building real, genuine connections. Real influence doesn't come from making yourself look important. It comes from making other people feel important.
Seriously, if you only take one single thing away from all this, let it be this. This is the mantra. Stop trying to be so interesting and just start being interested. It's a tiny shift in your mindset that can radically change every single interaction you have.
So here's your challenge. And it's not for next week or even tomorrow. It's for today. In just one conversation you have today, can you commit to truly, deeply listening without just planning what you're going to say next?
Here's exactly how you can do it. It's easy. Just ask a genuine question about the other person, their thoughts, their weekend, their process on a project, and as they're answering, put all your energy into just hearing them, not into figuring out your perfect reply. Just try it and see what happens to the vibe of the conversation. So as we wrap up, I'm just going to leave you with this final thought. Influence isn't some grand, complicated strategy. It's built in tiny, everyday moments. It's in the question you ask a coworker while you're waiting for coffee. It's in letting someone else take the credit for a great idea. So, what's that one small way you can be more interested in someone today?